Nice.
Yeah, it's always fun to sit back and watch like system fight system and just like, oh, our rights. It's like, yeah, we told you, we warned you.
Yeah. 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 If you haven't watched it yet, folks, I did make a video on the recent QP striking and QP response to Doug Ford's preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause and the hypocrisy therein of everybody who's up in arms over it. You can go and watch it on my channel. I'm sure
Link in the
you're also
description.
is link in the description. Thanks,
Oh
man. I
no.
never do that when I do these live streams. I never link to
Yeah.
you. I should, but I'm just like I'm lazy.
Yeah, no, what I should have, I used to have, is a file that's just like credits. So I can just
Right.
copy paste it right away instead of typing it out every fucking time.
Yeah, yeah. See, yeah, I should do something like that, but I'm not one of these planning types. So
Because,
is the
hey,
audio? Costins in the chat. Is the audio good, folks? Like, can you hear me? Okay. I'm using a microphone, but it's probably about 10 inches away from me. So
well, yeah, let us know. Also, welcome to the stream. That'll be $8.
yeah,
That I don't care if it's real, if it's a joke. I just like that he's basically being like the South Park Loch Ness monster adjusted for inflation.
yeah,
You got about $8.
yeah. I actually think it's hilarious, and I love that he's the consummate fucking troll, eh? Like everybody who like bitches at him is like, that'll be $8.
Yeah.
It's still $8. Yeah, I fucking love it. And I've been thinking about it. Like I looked at Twitter Blue to see what you get out of it. Right? It's really more for people who use Twitter on a more professional basis,
Hmm.
right? But Twitter Blue does not give you verification. It's $6.99 a month, and it gives you a bunch of extra tools. It allows you to customize your feed a little bit more than the average user, but it doesn't give you the verification. But if he's going to charge $8 for Twitter Blue and you get verified, I'll pay it. Yeah, why the fuck not? Just to be that shitheel, and I'll put it in my bio on Twitter. It's worth every penny. It's like, and this is the reason people are up in arms is because all these people who are verified, who see it as an elitist symbol, are like, well, we're going to let the common people have these verified, and they're saying, oh, I thought you were for free speech, and now you're going to charge people $8 for. No, you can always use the tweet. You don't need the verification to tweet. There's millions of users who do. They don't pay anything to tweet. He's just asking you to pay for your verification badge. You don't want your verification badge that badly? You can still tweet.
I mean, it just shows that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they talk about free speech.
Yeah, no, free speech is things that I agree with are free to say. You're free to say.
Hmm.
Things I disagree with is hate speech and needs to be banned. Oh, man. Greetings, Costin. And Delta Mail said about 30 minutes ago, let that refrigerator in. I don't know what that's a reference to, but.
Let that sink in.
Oh,
But
I
it just
get it.
shows a different
Right.
appliance.
He's a different sink, different kitchen implement. Let that refrigerator in. That's good.
Yeah.
He put a D in refrigerator, which I think is probably correct, though most people don't
It
put
is
it in.
not. I used to make that mistake all the time.
It isn't because, well, I guess you're right. In the short form, we put the D.
Correct.
So why don't we put it in the full length of the word?
Because it's not in the full length of the word. Fridge is slang. We can spell it however we want. We can spell it
Okay.
Frij. Yeah.
I thought the D was a silent D that was sort of making fridge more legible or comprehensible, because otherwise, if you don't have the D, it's Frige, and Frige, you would read that and pronounce it frige, right? But the D before the G gives the I a short I sound. Eh.
Zh. And you make the j sound.
Yeah.
Fridge.
Shidge. I don't know. Linguistics is not my strong suit, but I pretend like it is.
Refrigerator's a weird word anyway.
It is. It's like, because with the re in front of it, you think it's like you're redoing. Like, so you refrigerate something and then you refrigerate it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but that's simply not the case.
Yeah, English language for the win.
I don't know the etymology of this one, so I'm not going to pretend I do.
No, I just make shit up.
Now, I had a great idea. Uh,
I'm all for it.
you unveiled Canada Man
I did.
last time.
Yes, I did.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got a
And
lot of comments from the normies in my life. Oh my god, that's so cool! Oh, where did you buy that? No, I fucking made it. I threw it together in about a week.
did you have the shield?
No, no shield yet, but I am gonna make one. I have one of those flying saucer sleds that I bought from Best Buy like a year and a half ago, with the intention of turning it into a shield. It's a little big, so I'm gonna cut it down by about 5 inches in diameter, and it should be the perfect size. And then I've got to, of course, round all the edges and make them all nice and smooth, so you're not cutting yourself every time you pick it up.
Right.
But yeah, and then I recently got for people who are into crafting. I recently got a Cricut. Cricut's like a die cutting machine for like cardstock and vinyl and stuff like that. And originally I was going to paint the shield, and I'm like, no man, I'll just print off a big frickin' vinyl decal of a maple leaf, and I'll put it on the thing, and that'll work perfectly because it's permanent. Once it gets on there, it's like you have to work to get it off, right?
Yeah.
So
That'll
anyway.
be slick.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool.
See now, here's my idea.
What's that?
Your foam cut leaf
Yes.
to paste there. You did such a nice job with it. I think you should do another one, much larger, probably thicker too, like deeper, I guess,
Okay.
like fatter.
Yeah.
By much larger, I mean like 1.5 to 2 feet from the base to the top point.
Okay.
Then you cut it right down the middle,
Mm-hmm.
so you now have two halves.
Yep.
You affix one half to the end of a very long pole,
Okay.
and the other half to the opposite radius of the opposite end of the very long pole.
So it's a big two-bladed weapon.
It's a half leaf halberd.
Nice.
And if you actually look at the design, it is a halberd.
Yeah,
Like it has a stabber, it has a slasher, and it has a hook.
that's true. I guess it would really, right? Because of the shape of the leaf. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. See, and then if it's a halberd, then I don't necessarily need a shield, and I have the what do you call it? The raw materials to make foam weapons for like LARPing. So I could easily do that. Very easily do that. I've got the fiberglass rods that are like basically they're driveway markers for snow removal, right? So you don't go over onto the lawn. So yeah, just tape those together, embed it in some foam, cover like put tons and tons of latex on the outside, yeah, and then decorate it up the way you want. Hey, quit ruining our furniture. My cat's clawing at our ottoman here. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Bragg the Butcher tonight.
Yes, because you're terrorizing Twitter.
I'm being a little bit. I'm being more irreverent than normal. I'm really up in arms about this whole Cupid thing, and primarily with the media and the Twitterati, the Twitter mafia response, like this. You know, throwing terms around like this is a violation of human rights, charter rights, yada yada yada. Where were you guys like a year ago in Ottawa? Oh, that's right. You were shouting at convoys, calling them every fucking name in the book.
Yeah.
So, and then they have the gall to say, if you stood by the truckers, but you won't stand by the teachers, the education assistants, then you're being a hypocrite. I'm like,
So
excuse me?
these things tie into each other, and I actually, very much wanted to pull that up. Let me actually share this fucking tweet because this is also tied into the thing you've been calling everyone lately.
Oh yeah,
Fucking system pigs.
system pig. Yeah. If you're not familiar with what a system pig is, we can get into that shortly.
Yeah. You describe it while I set this up.
Okay, so I was watching a video by Felix Rex slash Black Pigeon Speaks, and he used the term system pig. Now, I don't think he came up with it either. You can find the definition in Urban Dictionary, but what it comes down to basically, a system pig is somebody in the media commentator, a pundit, a journalist who reports and spins topics to the benefit of the ruling elite or the system, so to speak. And so you'd call them yellow journalists under any other term, but I like the term system pig.
Yeah.
Yellow journalist is somebody, or yellow journalism is like not real journalism. It's journalism with a clear slant. And in the case of a system pig, it's a slant in favor of the ruling elite, the establishment, what have you. So,
And this is from Max Fawcett of the National Observer.
yeah, okay.
Sounds made up.
The National Observer. Okay.
Like I know they're all technically made up, all the
Yeah,
names
yeah.
of all the outlets, right? But it sounds like
I've never
the
heard of
Daily
it before.
Planet.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Here he is. If you're a convoy enthusiast and you aren't speaking out against Doug Ford's preemptive strike against the rights of teachers, you're confessing that you were never interested in standing up for other people's rights, just your own. Now, the thing that bugs me here, immediately,
Yeah.
I was like, you didn't support the convoy. Like I could
Yeah,
just
I
tell,
tried to
just
look
feels
back
good
and
to
see.
begin with.
I tried to look at his tweet history and see what his positions were on the convoy, and I couldn't find anything. But that's why my response was: is he taking away the education system's ability to keep their job unless they submit? Well, you have the tweet that I responded with.
Yeah, we'll get there. I know what you mean. I wanted to check. I did go look, and from what I could tell, even if he was like, I just got the feeling he was against it by reading this. And I did find some articles he wrote about the Conservative Party,
Yeah.
referring to the convoy rot in the Conservative Party.
Okay.
So, like, maybe he didn't call everyone racist yahoos like our fucking prime minister did or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the Yahoo term was the Ottawa Police Service called them
Oh.
Yahoos. Yeah, I could be wrong. Or it might have been the mayor.
Ford.
Actually, I think it was the mayor of Ottawa.
Doug Ford uses yahoos too.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah. Just in general, he's used it for a long time. But clearly he's not for. So what this is projection.
Yeah.
Like suddenly it's human rights, and it's amazing because the left-wing person obviously can't get away from trying to control other people.
Right.
I wasn't with you, I didn't support you, but you had better support me if you support what you said you supported.
Yeah, and the idea, and just this particular phrase, you're confessing that you were never interested in standing up for other people's rights, just your own. No, because the whole point of the convoy was to end all vaccine mandates and lockdowns and restrictions on people. Everybody, not just truckers, everybody. This strike is specifically for educational assistants.
Yeah.
Educational assistants who, in my opinion, and I know this might piss people off who are in education, they're glorified interns. When I was going to school, our teachers did not have educational assistants. What they had was co-op students who decided they wanted to go into teaching, maybe would do their whatever it was 8-credit work placement at a local public school, because I did it, because for a time I wanted to be a teacher, and you basically were the gopher for the teacher. That's what educational assistants, from my understanding, essentially do. The teacher teaches, the educational assistant runs and makes copies of shit for the teacher, goes and gets a coffee for the teacher, runs out and buys supplies. Maybe they take some of the more special needs kids, or they take some of the more gifted kids off into another section of the school to have a specified lesson plan for them. But they don't write lessons. They don't have teaching certificates. They're not teachers. So essentially, to me, they're glorified interns. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean,
Wouldn't be the
I don't
first
know.
time. So does a glorified intern deserve to make more than $39,000 a year? Do they have a teaching certificate? I mean, you take a look at the people in education in Ontario, in Canada in general. I shouldn't say the vast majority, a large plurality of the people on the Sunshine List, and if you're not familiar with what the Sunshine List is, it's a list of government workers who are paid in excess of $100,000 a year. A large plurality of the people on the Sunshine List work in education or healthcare. So And it's not like they're executives. It's not like they're, senior management or vice presidents of specific organizations. No, they've just been working the job long enough to benefit from being part of a public sector union and being paid, in my opinion, far too generously with taxpayer dollars.
Hmm.
But that's me. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. You can shut me down all you want.
And I mean, to be honest, yeah, I guess notwithstanding clause in and of itself is a fucking problem.
Oh, I
If
agree.
there's yeah, and if there's a union and they want to strike or whatever, probably you shouldn't be forcing people to go back to work. But I mean, their opening salvo was what was it, 11.7% raise,
Right.
or
Now, my
else?
understanding is they have not had a raise in almost 10 years, but they'd renegotiate their contracts every, 4 years? 3 or 4
Oh, I
years?
don't know.
So if you're renegotiating your contract every 4 years and you make concessions to not have a wage increase in favor of getting something else, you basically want to undo the past decisions that were made because inflation is bad now. Well, there's plenty of people because of inflation, because of the economic downturn right now, they're not getting raises. And raises are on a freeze. There's people in the private sector who haven't had raises for years. I worked in the private sector for a small company, and the guy never gave raises unless you basically you guilted him into giving you one. So he never did like performance reviews or wage reviews or anything like that. It's like, hey, I've been doing a lot more for the business. I think I should be paid more money. Yeah, I guess I'll increase it by 25 cents an hour. That kind of stuff, right?
And these guys are asking for what, 3.75 an hour?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For I mean, in my opinion, it's a glorified intern. And Costin says here, it's a right to strike issue. Sure, I get it. You have a right to strike. You also have a right to find another job. It's only because they're part of a union that gives them the right to strike, right? And I don't like unions in general. I view unions as basically mobs of people who use who use numbers to coerce and threaten actions by government or actions by management to do what they want, whether or not that's to the benefit of the business or the operation. And I don't like it. Because to me, unions violate the non-aggression principle because you're using power, you're instituting or initiating force through coercion to get what you want on somebody else who you've already made an agreement to that you're going to work at a set wage. And now you're like, no, you know what? I decided I want more money. Well, sorry, there's no more money. But there's the door. There's lots of places out there that maybe will hire you. That should be the response. You can ask for money, but you shouldn't be able to band together and basically threaten to destroy a person's business or operation just to get more money from them. So that's my take on it. And public sector unions are even worse because as consumers of services provided by the public sector, we don't have a choice to choose somebody else that doesn't use a union. And I mentioned that in my video, right? In the private sector, I could buy a widget or a set of bagpipes from a company that makes them in a factory where they're all unionized, or I could buy it from an artisan who has a handful of people who build those bagpipes and nobody's unionized and they all get paid a wage that they're happy with and they all love their work and they're not constantly looking to game the system so they don't have to do shift work or they don't have to work on Saturdays or whatever, right? Through the use of a union. That's my view of unions. But anyway.
And this Costin comment is basically why, well, obviously it's wrong. It's like, yeah, but you're also all a bunch of assholes, so go fight each other, see if I care. Because in the end, the only person who's going to pay is the fucking taxpayers.
Exactly.
It's going to cost us.
Exactly.
And they're saying,
and I mean, me not being a parent of a student, what do I get out of it when the EA workers get more money?
And you still got to pay the tax. And tens of thousands of small businesses are closed forever. And you still want to drain the money out of those people's pockets.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. Go whine and whine and cry.
Yeah.
Strike.
I have no sympathy for CUPE or the unions. I don't like Doug Ford. I've mentioned that in the past. And I don't like the notwithstanding clause. I think it's a bad it's a bad line item in our charter. It shouldn't be there. And I know why it's there. It was there to appease Quebec, essentially. But and the people, all the people pointing to the statistics how no premier in Ontario's history, apart from Doug Ford, has ever invoked the notwithstanding clause, who's invoked it twice now. And I'm like, yeah, but Quebec has done it like 17 times. You don't seem to give a shit about that. And Quebec does it to actually take away people's freedoms and rights, especially the Anglophones in Quebec.
Yeah.
Anglophones in Quebec are treated like second-class citizens because Quebec has utilized the notwithstanding clause to put in legislation that violates the Charter of Rights and Freedoms at face value. It's a clear violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Certain people can't use their native tongue in a business setting because we want to preferentially treat the Quebecois. That is a violation of charter on its face. Like it's nothing more blatant. But notwithstanding clause, we can do what the fuck we want. Yeah, sorry.
No, no,
I'm ranting. I'm taking over your stream here. I apologize.
no. It's all good. It's all good. Because we are just here to fucking shriek into the abyss.
That is essentially what it seems like we're doing a lot of time. It's true.
But well, yeah. I mean, fuck. What else are you gonna do? People stopped inviting me to parties, so
Yep.
I had to start screeching at the internet. And hey, look, I made friends doing it.
True enough.
Oh, okay. What's next? Yes, let's share. Let's share your response, and the response is because it was amazing.
It was
Because
amazing. Wow.
your response, like the is it a medical intervention against their will?
Yeah.
But then right under that, just as I scrolled down, these two people just said what I was thinking. Like, you're doing it right now. You're doing
Yeah.
exactly what you're accusing. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So who's the hypocrite? I mean, it has to go based on the timeline, right?
God, I am not your friend.
Yeah. That is why we should privatize as much as possible, he also says. It's kind of funny. I went and visited my doctor this week. I've been having an issue. And I was talking to him, and he referred me to a specialist. And he said, I'll be honest with you, though, you might be waiting more than a month to see a specialist. And I'm like, I'm not too concerned about it. I do want to see a specialist because it's something that, has been plaguing me for more than a month. And I think it's probably worth looking at now. And he says, he did the myriad of things that he could do in a doctor's office. He was like, no, they're going to need a scope. You're going to need to see an ENT. Something to do with my throat. So, So he referred me. He says, but just so you know, it's going to take like a month. Unfortunately, we just don't have the manpower to treat everybody the way we do. He says, and then he starts going off about the medical system. He says, Ontario's healthcare system is collapsing in real time. He says, I go to hospitals and I see people dying in like the foyer, the waiting area at the emergency room of COPD. And because they're so short-staffed, what they're doing is they're just giving them a pile of drugs, sending them home, and he said their benchmark is if only 20% of them come back, that is a win in their point of view. So the other 80%, to hell with them, they can die. But basically, if they only see 20% of people return to the ER with the same issue, then they consider that a win. That's how they're treating people in the ER.
So either
I'm surprised they don't just say, that cough does sound really bad. Why don't you just kill yourself?
apparently they're supposed to now. So it's either medical assistance in dying or just go die on your own, you fucking loser.
Yeah, you've been playing with COPD for what, 12 years now? Yeah, it's been with me for about 12 years, yeah. Wow, here's how much it costs the government, the Ontario government, the Ministry of Health to treat your COPD. That's a lot of money. We should probably be looking at alternatives to treatment. What do you mean, doctor? Well, you've led a pretty good life, right?
Well, no, the past 12 years have been
Except
plagued
for the
by
past 12 years.
COPD.
Ah, well, you shouldn't have smoked. You shouldn't have smoked.
Fuck.
I didn't smoke. Well, you shouldn't have taken a job at that microwave popcorn factory.
Ugh.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I had two doctor's visits this week. One with a publicly funded, which is my young doctor. He's like Doogie Howser age. He's not that young, but he's very young. I cannot get over how young this man is. And and then I went to a fully private medical provider to speak to them about getting rid of these. I think I'm going to go for it and get laser eye surgery.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, so I think I'm more handsome without glasses, but
Sometimes it doesn't take, just letting you know.
yeah, they say I'm a candidate, and they have a guarantee that if I don't get 20/20 vision, like you may need to go back if for whatever reason it doesn't alleviate. But I mean, the technology now is getting pretty crazy advanced, and so if they do the surgery and I don't see an improvement approaching 20/20 without lenses for distance vision, um, then basically it's a money back guarantee. Like they you have to give them a number of
Interesting.
tries to correct whatever went wrong. But if at the end of the day, after several surgeries, like yeah, sir, we're never going to be able to get you to 20/20 vision for whatever reason, all your money comes back. So as long as they don't like make me blind for the rest of my life, then I think that's a pretty good win.
Yeah, that's much rarer.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
Mm.
So it's not cheap, but I think you know what, you know me, Irving. I'm independently wealthy, so I'll just take my pile of cash and go in there and
You're
my
worth
eye,
it, Greg.
get
You're
my
worth
eyes worked on. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not independently wealthy.
it.
I just have no kids, so my overhead is much lower than a lot of people.
uh,
So,
Here, let's take another look at one of these fucking assholes. Let's stick with this.
oh yeah, please do. I'm sorry, I keep
No,
derailing.
no, no. This Max Fawcett guy.
Okay.
So this is actually a retweet, something he retweeted, but again, it shows what he knows. For you free speech advocates, I got an email from Post Media Advertising saying they refused to run an ad I drafted about Pierre Poilievre. I emailed to inquire why, and they refused to answer. That's Ottawa Citizen, Ottawa Suncom for you. Honk, honk. Free speech means you have to let me do business with you.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying. Like, what the fuck? Why don't they get it?
It's like a cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like some people see things from a completely different point of view. It's a different lens, right? They want compulsion
Yeah, yeah.
from
They
people
can't get
in
away
order to.
from trying to
It's
force
like you want
people
to
to do what they
force someone
want.
to platform you. It's the same issue as the uh, bake the cake bigot. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this is free speech, therefore you must render your time and labor to put a message that I want out into the public. No, we choose to do business with whoever we want to do. At least if you're blind, the government will suicide you for free. That's true. That's true. It saved them money to suicide me. You know what? I think even if I went blind, I wouldn't want to die. I wouldn't want to die because technology exists. At some point, I might be able to get cybernetic implanted eyes, cyber eyes, like fucking Shadowrun and Cyberpunk. That would be
fucking
awesome. And I'll have a little LED that runs across it that says Augusto Pinochet did nothing wrong.
yeah. Welcome, GZ and CMAC. That'll be $8.
That'll be $8. That's right. I liked your slate for tonight's live stream. By the way,
You inspired me. You inspired
uh,
me. So.
yes, I've been throwing around that term. I think I've been a little too liberal with it, to be honest. But I like the term too. When I heard Black Pigeon Speaks talk about it, I'm like, that's a great phrase. That's a great phrase. System pig. I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, Cyber Eye would be epic. Katy Perry needs one. Well, she needs
Yeah,
a
hers
new
is
one.
glitching out. Sure, yeah.
Now, what the hell else do I have on these fucking idiots? Okay, so Rachel fucking Gilmore.
Oh Christ, she's the worst. I've been calling her System Pig just about every time she tweets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is she CBC
Global, I believe.
Global?
Yeah, I believe it's global.
And she's a journalist.
Yeah, she's an online influencer that works for. I think primarily she works for Global Online in the social media end of things, but I don't know. Maybe she does write legit articles that go on their website, get printed in the paper. I have no idea.
But I mean, she seems to be following the Emergencies Act Commission
Yeah,
and tweeting it almost like coverage.
yeah, yeah. And she's gaslighting. She misrepresents everything she says, everything that's happening. And
So
she is the true definition of a system pig in that she spins everything that comes out of the commission in a light that justifies the use of the Emergencies Act, even though it's being decided upon based on not what the protesters did, not what the convoy did, what the different government institutions did leading up to the use of the Emergencies Act or did not do leading up to the Emergencies Act. Did they exhaust all means? Were they in a situation where they couldn't effectively deal with the situation? And all the evidence so far has shown no, they didn't exhaust all means. I think what
yeah,
it comes down to is Justin Trudeau was just tired of dealing with it. He's like, I'm going to give you these tools because I want this to end.
now I just
And
want
I'm
to
waiting
say,
for the communication to come out to that effect. I'm sure there will be some discovered at some point.
there basically was. We can get there, but I just need to say, CMAC. So apparently, actual sex workers heard this term prostitute and were very offended to be associated
With
with
journalists?
the journalists because they said it makes us all sound like con artists and liars.
That's right. And there's nothing more honest than selling your body for money. What you see is what you get, and you know exactly what's going to happen when you get into the bed.
See, and then if I send Irving money, the government will take my bank account. See, like that's why I don't even bother leaving my Subscribestar link in the description.
Do you have a subscribe star?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, for years. Oh,
Are you going to pay the $8, Irving? Are you going to get the blue check?
nah, why?
I don't know. Why not?
Eh.
Just to piss off. I mean, I don't think it'll drive more traffic to my Twitter feed. I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned anyway. You see that tweet where I responded to Fawcett, and I had like 2 likes, and then the other person who responded to Fawcett got like 117 likes. I don't know who that person is, but obviously they've got more reach than I do.
Well, maybe they have more followers too, right? Like I don't know, but
More
yeah,
likely, I only have a few hundred followers or 100 and something followers. Yeah.
it's probably fair to say that we've been, what's the word, deprioritized, not
Yes.
properly shadow banned, but deprioritized by Twitter and YouTube for a long time.
Yeah, probably. I'm a little too edgy. I show my power level too much when I'm on Twitters. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, just Rachel Gilmore. She is following and tweeting as it goes, as if she is a journalist who is, what's the word I'm looking for, covering it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Then she does shit like this. Uh-oh. Lawyers are calling each other my friend at the Emergencies Act inquiry again.
What does that mean?
She, so that,
Or what is she trying to imply? I guess is what I'm saying.
she doesn't know what she's trying to imply. That what she's admitting is she doesn't understand our legal system.
Right.
That we have, like we refer to it as the adversary system, but the prosecution and defense are supposed to be impartial parties, one representing one side, one representing the other, and having no emotional investment so that they can come to an actual, and they're all working for the same system.
Right.
right, to achieve a common goal, and they are friends. It doesn't matter how much enmity there is between the state
Right.
and the perpetrator.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
they,
matter. It doesn't matter their ideological differences. It's a
yeah,
matter of it's a system of cordiality. I think that's
yes,
the word, cordialness.
yes,
It's part of being cordial in the courtroom.
yeah, and they always refer to each other as my friend,
Yeah.
right? And
So what you're saying is Rachel Gilmore is a twat.
she, she doesn't know, right? She doesn't know things. So I don't know if she's that dumb or if she's actually spinning certain stuff. And this is one that really bugged me. Let me pop this motherfucker up here. Oh my God, this goes to the heart of the question the inquiry is trying to answer. Was the Emergencies Act necessary? Now, here's the thing. This goes to the heart of the question that my trial is trying to answer. Was strangling my wife to death absolutely necessary to stop her from nagging me? Yes. I'm free. Like it's not that's not the question. The question
Yeah.
is not was it necessary?
Yeah.
Anything's necessary if you want it to be.
Yeah.
The question is was it legally justifiable?
Right.
That's the question.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and to your example there, well, in mirroring hers, the nagging stopped as soon as she was strangled. So
Yeah.
obviously it was necessary.
Like just insane. Now you were saying like the hand in the cookie jar caught red-handed about actual correspondence.
Yes.
So there is correspondence from I can't remember which level of police that had said we have this plan, we're going to enact it today, we're going to talk with these people, and we're going to get it solved. And the MPs went, nah, table that, just use the EMA.
Wow.
They already know that, like it should be over.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They'd already done like negotiations with local police and the mayor's office, even if the mayor himself didn't meet with them. There were people in, the executive portion of Ottawa, or the body that runs Ottawa, who had agreed to speak with Tamara Lich and a couple of the other organizers to say, hey, let's try and resolve this, right? Anyway, and I hate how they're trying to besmirch Tamara Lich for breaking down and crying about how her daughter, how being incarcerated for however many months she was, or days, affected her relationship with her daughter and affected her life essentially, right?
Mm.
The idea that you're going to mock somebody's suffering like that, right? I think it's kind of it shows you who they are, really, what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, look, when someone they agree with breaks down and cries, it's emotional and touching. When
Oh yes,
someone they already
exactly.
don't like, oh, it's
They're
crocodile tears.
stunning and brave for putting their emotions out there like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, ridiculous. And then like Fawcett and Gilmore, and then they wonder why they're mad that we keep bailing them out with taxpayer money,
yeah,
right? It's because you're shit journalists that you need bailing out. Like you're bad at this.
yeah. Yeah, it's true, right? Yeah. Yeah, I see there's going to be it seems to be slow happening here in Canada, more so in the United States, but there's obviously a political shift. Like people talk about a cultural shift, or I think it's a political shift that's happening. I think it's becoming more crystallized in that you've got people who think that more government is the answer, and you got people who think that less government is the answer, and never the twain shall meet. And it's becoming clearer and clearer in more and more people's eyes that, yeah, you know what? Government really is the problem. And I think you're going to see basically, I don't want to call it a reckoning, but essentially you're going to see it become a stark decision, a ballot decision for people, or it's going to become a stark decision in terms of where it is they want to, lay their hat in terms of, people who are migrating out of Ontario, right? They're like looking, you know what, I'm tired of the government being in my pocket, being in every aspect of my life. The 2 years of COVID proved to me that government really all they care about is controlling people, and you know they've basically admitted that none of the science, nothing was followed based on science, but was followed instead based on political expediency or political will, and to hell with them. I hope anyway. I'm kind of buoyed by uh, Danielle Smith and how much flack she's getting for saying things that are completely reasonable. You know how much flack she's getting from people in the pundit class, the system pigs, as it were, saying how it's a terrible thing that she's saying she's going to bring people who are credentialed. She's going to reject the World Health Organization science teams in terms of COVID response and pandemic response in the province of Alberta, and instead bring in scientist X, who everybody's saying, oh, he's terrible, he's a whatever, he's a skeptic of vaccines and blah blah blah. Like, you don't think most people right now are skeptical of the vaccine after what's been revealed? I mean, maybe not most people, but you don't think there's a large number of people who are finally cottoning on to the idea that, hey, looks like everyone was full of shit.
Yeah, it was just an enormous cash grab. Like
It really was.
even if there's no depopulation scheme to murder billions of people over the next 5 to 10 years or whatever. It was just like, hey, we can give them fucking sugar water and they'll pay billions through the nose for it because they think it's going to help.
Yeah, yeah. We can lie to them and gaslight them and say this is the only way to keep you safe.
Yeah.
When we know that, 50 plus years of immunology and virology tells us, no, actually the best thing that we should have done was let this thing burn through the population. Protect the people who are at risk, like Sweden did, and let it burn through the healthy young population. And then we'd have reached herd immunity, 6 months prior to the vaccines coming out. And the vaccines, now we know, they were never tested to see if they would stop transmission. So this notion that everybody who didn't want to get the vaccine just wanted grandma to die is a complete farce. It's completely fallacious, and yet they still hold in their heads that people who were like skeptical of the vaccine were selfish.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but now they want amnesty.
Yeah, exactly. Oh fuck that whole. Yeah, please. We need to put it all behind us. No. Tell that to the Jews. Tell that to the Jews to put the Holocaust behind them. Look, 6 months after the last body went fucking up the chimney, hey, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. There was bad on both sides. People behaved badly on both sides. We should put it all behind us. Fuck you. You're advocating for people to be denied medical service, denied the ability to leave their homes. You're talking about people being locked in their homes. You're talking about people losing their jobs, being barred from public gatherings, all because they're like, something doesn't seem right here with this vaccine. Came out pretty quick. And now we find out that the only actual testing that was done was on 8 fucking rats. 8 rats, never human tested, and that the companies that produced it got blanket immunity for any side effects that people might suffer. Yeah, to hell with that. No.
Do you remember when we committed an act of rebellion by eating Italian food?
Yes, I do. It was damn good Italian food. Sadly, they're no longer in business.
Fuck.
It's so bad. But that being said, I did have a good Italian dinner tonight at a place in Oakville called the Olive Press. If you've not been there, my sister-in-law is the manager there. It's worth checking out. They've got good food. I had spaghetti and meatballs. Just absolutely delicious. I ate far too quickly, and I'm so full right now. But it was really, really good.
Whatever happened to Adamson Barbecue?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Someone should follow up with him. Maybe Clyde Do Something will follow up with him. Because he was very early on in the lockdown measures, right? So people, at the time, people were like still very scared of the whole pandemic. And they said, he's just an idiot. He's going to, he's putting everyone at risk, yada, yada, yada. They're all saying terrible things about this guy. He was, he was a felon and he did criminal things. And I'm like, no, none of that's true.
Just because, if Zucchini Cucina went down.
Zucchini Cucina went down, I think, because of the economic downturn. They weren't taken out by government mandate or anything like that. They just found they couldn't afford to keep operating, I think is what it comes down to.
People
with the
don't.
lockdowns the way they were. No, no, that's not it. I'm sorry. I'm mistaken. The chef moved on, and they have yet to find another chef. So they couldn't stay open without a chef.
Right.
That's what it came down to.
Because it's just like people don't understand restaurants are like generally razor thin margins.
Oh yeah,
Like you're not making a lot of money. You're doing it because you love it, right?
yeah.
And yeah, oh, 2 weeks. Well, that could be 2 weeks that destroys a small business like that.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's
Especially in
really,
restaurants where you, like you said, they're on razor thin margins. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean,
to put
it's
it in perspective, like a retail store that sells retail goods will typically buy those goods at about 50% of the retail cost if they want to maintain a decent profit. Sometimes they'll buy it for a little bit more if it's a hot item and they know they can sell it, at 40% markup and still, make some good money. But what is it? Restaurants do what? 20 to 30% maybe, and
maybe.
that doesn't even include what they have to concern themselves with spoilage and
Yeah, like if
food
I have a
loss.
bad retail sales day,
Yeah,
tomorrow might be better. But if I have a bad restaurant sales day, well,
yeah.
tomorrow all that food I bought for yesterday is toast.
Yeah, so it adds to your overhead, right?
Yeah.
And you'll never recover that overhead. It's basically lost money, right? Whereas a retail establishment has to deal with shrinkage, meaning things that go missing because people put them in their pockets and walk out the door.
Yeah.
They worry, they account for maybe 3 to 5% of losses being shrinkage. Restaurants have to deal with the fact that the products they sell go bad and they have to throw them out.
I
So
think it's just called shrink though.
yeah, or
Shrinkage
we
is
called it
something else.
shrinkage back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we were probably being clever, trying to be funny.
Oh, like
Yeah,
with from the Seinfeld joke.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
It's shrinkage. Yeah,
I was at the pool.
I was in the pool all day. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
There's some comments in the chat here.
Yeah, yeah. Let's so C-Mac,
We
they
can
can
shove
shove
the
the
eight
eight
bucks.
bucks. Can I
Yeah,
get the
I'm,
eight
I'm
bucks
thinking of
though?
paying it just for the lulls.
Oh, when she ah was this about they calling each other friend?
Oh yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah,
She, and there was a bigger plan behind the scenes going on. Justin Trudeau, probably like this is another thing that people quickly forgot. Some people are all around the world got in their trucks and started driving like in support, and then we're like, wait a minute, we're already in our trucks. Let's go to our own capitals.
yeah, yeah,
Like that this started not only a worldwide movement, but God, the memes. Oh
yeah,
fuck, the memes were incredible, right?
yeah.
And Justin Trudeau did not like that at all.
Well, yeah, because he's got all his compatriots or all his colleagues in other countries around the world looking at his country saying, "Do something about this," right?
And so
And
yeah,
he's
so
not
he
well
did his,
respected on the world stage. He wasn't
no,
well respected on the world stage to begin with.
no, never was. So yeah, like I'm sure he was like very angry and saying no, fuck peaceful resolution at this point. Just get them.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Small government and more local involvement is the answer. People need to volunteer in their own communities more. Yeah, that would make
Agreed. And if they do, they get an extra vote.
an
Is my
extra.
uh, my super suffrage movement. I've been talking about universal suffrage. People are talking because the midterm elections are happening right now in the United States or in the next
Mhm.
week, and people are talking about we need to save our democracy, and if you care about democracy and yada yada. I'm like, and I said democracy is shit, and universal suffrage was a bad idea. Is a bad idea. Um, anyway. He hadn't come up with that. There's a Greek philosopher who came up with that idea. But yeah.
Training with a Chinese biotech company next week. Good luck.
On universal vaccines, lol.
Don't don't share lunch with anybody.
You notice how they're pushing for the flu vaccine even harder than they ever did?
Oh, because they're starting to combine them, and I don't think they're telling
Yeah.
people that
Yeah, yeah.
that it's a multivalent now,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
bivalent COVID and flu.
Yeah. No thanks. I never took the flu vaccine before. Why would I start taking it now?
Yeah,
Maybe when I'm 80 And this vaping is giving me COPD. I might get the flu virus. Or my lungs are really at risk of infection, maybe. But I'm hoping that all the truth about this Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, the mRNA vaccines that have been developed under this pandemic, come out, and then people maybe we'll go back to a traditional vaccination method. Using dead vaccine cells
Yeah.
to you know to boost our immune systems naturally. Yeah,
It's online, thank God. There won't be any bad soup. Good to hear,
there
C-Mac.
you go.
And I found a farmer with $4 butter and $1 a dozen eggs.
Wow, four
Fuck yeah.
dollars for what, a pound of butter? That's not bad. I guess
No,
that's a
that's great.
dollar. That's a dollar. A quarter pound. I guess, right?
Oh, geez, is that what you pay for it? I
No, I
pay
don't
like
know what we pay. My wife
6.50.
does the grocery shopping. I have no idea what we pay for butter. We use margarine anyway, so we use butter in very specific instances, but mostly we use margarine.
We're going to CRISPR everything from now on.
Yeah,
That's it. It's over.
yeah, yeah. I feel bad for all these people who got sucked in by 23andMe, eh?
Oh,
Because
sure.
now the government has their DNA profile, and they can actually engineer viruses specifically to hit a genetic subset, right?
It's like nobody watched Utopia.
Yeah, I
Okay. And
know.
not the
Yeah,
shitty Americanized, was it on Netflix one? The
yeah,
actual
I think so.
BBC Utopia, 2 seasons. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Download that show. But yeah, like, oh, it's so. And the weird stuff that's starting to come out, like, someone is claiming certain amounts of excess deaths in certain regions of the world.
yeah. What's his name? That British doctor who's a immunologist, virologist, who goes over the stats
Hmm.
and in a very dry manner. Like he doesn't he doesn't try and emphasize or de-emphasize things. He just points at the figures, and he renders an opinion as like, well, this is concerning, and we'll have to wait and see. And he's very low key, but I like watching his stuff because he breaks it down. Right? He's like, we've got a report out from Ethiopia that they're seeing this many number of excess deaths this year that are not related to the violence in Ethiopia. They're related to ailments, and yeah, the sudden adult death syndrome that is on the rise. Yeah,
Well, we discussed this SIDS SADS thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah, like,
Sudden infant death syndrome and sudden adult death syndrome. Yeah,
but sudden infant death syndrome disappeared. No one talked about it for decades.
yeah.
When I was a child, I knew what it was,
Mm-hmm.
but then it just was gone. And I'm starting to think now that they're saying SAD, sudden adult death syndrome, we just don't know what happened. Oh my God, I escaped possibly some bad batches of vaccine that just
Yeah,
killed a whole bunch of infants.
could be. I mean, when they're really tiny, like when they're just a month or so old, there's only certain vaccines that they can get, right? Like they don't give them the whole gamut. They have to wait for a certain amount of time before they can give them some of the vaccines. So if that's the case, and most of these SIDS were babies who were less than a year old,
Mm.
uh, what the fuck were they injecting them? Or and then other people were saying, well, no, it's a shaken baby. People are shaking their babies, or they're putting them to bed wrong, and they're suffocating on their sheets. I'm like, what? That doesn't sound very likely.
So we tested J&J and AstraZeneca jabs for process impurities and found a lot of scary junk. This is something else I was saying, right? That maybe it's just, oh, someone didn't properly, I don't know, clean a machine, didn't
Yeah,
didn't do the quality assurance for the like base ingredients as they came in
yeah,
correctly,
yeah,
and something bad happens. It doesn't take much,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It could be a bad batch, like you said. Um, did you watch Louder with Crowder at all this week?
I have not.
So he had a guy on who I want to say he's Australian, but he might have been an Englishman. Anyway, he had a guy on who works in he works in the funeral industry, and he's a mortician. And he held up a test tube
Yeah.
with this organic. It looks like little, almost like pasta, like little like twisted long flat noodles that are all twisted up.
I have seen
He
it.
says these are the clots that are being pulled out of people who are otherwise healthy, like young people who live healthy lives, don't smoke, that kind of stuff, but got the vaccine. And they're not blood clots. They're clots of other organic chemicals. They're clots of things that your body is producing. It's not stuff that, they ate a bunch of bananas so there's more potassium and it's being locked in these clots. These are like his whole thing was, though, these are compounds that your body is producing and it's collecting in certain areas and it's causing, massive cardiac arrest. So it's not like blood clots, which is, platelets and plaque in an artery. It's these other concentrations of compounds. And so like the body's growing them and they're collecting in these arteries, they're collecting in these spots in the body. And yeah, his whole thing is that, yeah, I'm sorry, but this is just too outrageous to be coincidental, right? That it seems to be happening with people who are healthy and have no underlying issues, and then all of a sudden they're dropping dead. And he says he's in the industry of mortuary work, and he's talked to other people who run funeral homes. And they're all very cagey about it, but ultimately they're admitting, yes, we're seeing a lot more young people who are healthy who are dying for reasons that are confusing or at least very suspicious.
And I have heard about these weird clots, and the person who was displaying them was same idea, talking to people with work in the funeral homes,
Yeah,
and saying they've never seen this before. Someone's worked 50 years, never seen anything like this. Now they see it all the time.
yeah, yeah. So it's very concerning, right? What the hell is in these things?
Pardon my pronunciation, CMAC. He says serine protease inhibitors affect protein folding,
Okay.
and it's misfolded proteins prions. I had a weird thought before I read these. Microplastics. And the vaccine is interacting with microplastics.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. He mentioned, I'm trying to remember all the things he mentioned that are found in these clots, but they're composed of primarily, I think he said potassium, magnesium, and other things that your body produces and uses, right? And some some hormonal chemicals that are being like basically clogged up in certain areas of the body.
Mm.
So it sounds like CMAC is like a biologist or a biochemist. So I'm really interested if he's aware of all this. It's why ivermectin worked. Yeah, and everybody's, horse piece.
No, I mean, there's no such thing as off-label usage, right?
Yeah.
Like fucking Tums. Tums is it's for what's it called? Settling your stomach if you have but guess what? When I have cramps, like muscle cramps,
yeah,
I can eat a couple of Tums and they go away almost immediately because
no
there's
shit. So if I'm not mistaken, Tums is just basically like chalk, right? It's like
it's
like
sodium
calcium.
bicarbonate, some dextrose, and magnesium.
Okay.
And magnesium is one of the things that if you're hydrating and you're getting the right amount of salt and you still can't solve this cramp, it's magnesium every time.
Oh, really?
Right?
Okay.
Handful of cashews or a couple of Tums and the cramp should ease. And
Cool.
So ivermectin goes after the parasite's particular thing, which happens to be present in something that's not a parasite. So that makes sense that you could off-label use it for something else. Probably not all viruses, but this one, right?
Okay, so the spike has a parasite protein. The serine protease inhibitor is how parasites move around in your body, breaking down tissues. So I'm completely lay person here. the spike, meaning the spike proteins that they're seeing uh, stick around in the body that aren't supposed to stick around in the body, behaves like a parasite? Is that what you're saying, CMAC? And that's why ivermectin works against it?
Something like that. Like, to a layperson, I think you've got it.
Okay.
Right? Because, like, okay, it's not like ivermectin just kills parasites. It inhibits the parasite by attacking this particular thing that the parasite has or does, and
Okay.
preventing it from having it or doing it. So if some other thing that isn't a parasite happens to have something like that, it just might have a similar effect, right?
Okay, so the spike protein has 3 pieces, units, he says. Okay. And so ivermectin goes after, so the different units have different proteins, etc. on them. Okay. It's called a trimer. Okay.
3.
Tri
Yeah.
isn't 3, yeah.
Oh,
get it.
we got that one, dude. I prefer trichomes, man. Sorry.
And so my guess is that ivermectin treats one of these, or goes
Yeah.
after one of these units, and if the spike protein also shares that unit, then ivermectin will affect it.
Right, giving your immune system time to beat the shit out of it before it can,
Right.
because that's really what the drugs are supposed to be doing. Just
Right.
buying you a little time so that your immune system can get on it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, that's another thing I've been seeing. And speaking of COVID, I've been seeing a lot of people. Yeah, that was people were criticizing Danielle Smith for bringing on a scientist who is advocating, herd immunity as opposed to vaccination, and how this is stupid and it's a fringe theory. I'm like, herd immunity is the cornerstone of virology and immunology. Without herd immunity, we wouldn't be able to stop pandemics from destroying the population. We understand how herd immunity works. So this notion that herd immunity is some sort of fringe theory, or the idea of getting infected, is a bad idea. Look, parents were doing it for years with chickenpox because they knew if their kid got chickenpox, along with the other kid down the street who got chickenpox, they wouldn't suffer chickenpox in the future when it can be much more debilitating as an adult.
Yeah.
It was meant to protect them from becoming much more sick if they were exposed to chickenpox as an adult. This isn't new science. It's not fringe science.
This all of a sudden they threw out years of textbooks for lies. Now I too am a layperson, but I've always had like an interest in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And before this, up until this pandemic, the immune system was considered a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
Like, without this immune system, that's such an amazing wonder, like, that can just fight off all these things, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
The notion that your body can do the thing that it does, that is, recognize a foreign substance or a foreign virus or foreign body in your system, and remember that it's a threat, and then all of a sudden start producing the specific things to fight that threat because it's been exposed to it before, is insane when you think about it. It's almost like consciousness at the cellular level, but we know that's not what's happening. It's all biochemistry and genetics, but it's anthropomorphizing, I guess. We're looking at it as, these are your body's shock troops and ground forces that recognize a threat because they've seen it before and are able to produce soldiers to go and fight that threat. I know that sounds
They made a
kind of
cartoon
juvenile,
about this,
but it's essentially
where the white
how our
blood cells
system
are
works, right?
You don't remember that cartoon movie they made? The white blood cell's the cop, and he's going after the invader.
Yes, there's an anime, right?
I can't remember what it's called.
There's an anime that's all about the immune system. Yeah, all
I swear
about
to God, it was
the
American,
circulatory system.
It was
Yeah.
in theaters and shit.
Was it really?
Yeah, I swear.
I remember reading a book about Louis Pasteur when I was a kid. It was like a picture book, but it talked about how he developed the rabies vaccine, right?
Okay.
And it explained, much like I did there with the soldiers, about how the rabies vaccine worked. Insofar as
Right.
you introduce dead cells of the rabies virus into the system, and then your soldiers are built up, which are the white blood cells. They know how to fight it, and they never forget how to fight it. And then if the rabies virus ever got into your system again, those white blood cells will be produced en masse to go and fight the rabies virus again. Yeah. So anyway, it was a really cute little book. It was really cute little art, but I'm like, oh, that explains it so simply. I was.
But even further, with enough information, those soldiers can fight off an unknown enemy too.
Right.
Because if they've got enough information from multiple exposures,
Right.
right, they'll be able to do something while they figure out the very specific thing they need to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think they call this T cell immunity. There's like B cells and T cells, and I'm not sure, again, layperson. But yeah, that those ones that have that information, if you have enough information about a bunch of other things, you can see something and go, that's very much like this. I can probably handle it in a number of ways. And that while you work on the specific thing. And
Yeah.
people don't believe that.
No. No, they've been lied to and gaslit by the media and by the scaremongers in public health, saying that, oh, no, we got to rely on these vaccines. Herd immunity is not something we should be relying on. No, herd immunity is how you solve this fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you can achieve herd immunity not just through vaccination of an experimental medical treatment, but through being exposed to it and surviving, coming out the other side. Yeah, and someone was saying you can't fight the virus unless you get infected. I'm like, but you can be infected and not be symptomatic. You can be exposed to it. It can enter your system, but if your body responds to it quick enough, you'll never even show symptoms.
Yeah.
Hence the asymptomatic carrier, right? So, C-Mac's got a couple more comments.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool that he's in here. He says, they found a new organ a few years ago. That's interesting. Memory cells exist. Yeah.
Yeah. Elaborate on the new organ for us, though, while we go through the rest of it.
Yeah, and what were you
And
LOLing about? My talk about soldier white blood cells.
in there somewhere. But
And
the memory
I
cell.
think he means they can also be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure how. I hope he elaborates on that
Forcing the
too.
gene therapy on everyone just opened up biotech wonderland, and I'm dealing with some sick people. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Especially since, the people who pay for it all for all this, biotech development, they got blanket immunity because Congress said, yeah, okay, don't worry, you won't be sued. The problem is that Congress can't take away people's rights to seek a redress in court. They can't just say it's like signing a waiver when you go to play airsoft. You sign this waiver, that means you can't sue us if your eye gets shut out. Well, a waiver is just a piece of paper. If I can find you were negligent and that caused me to lose my eye, I can sue you, whether I signed a waiver or not.
They think the future of gene therapy is more important than killing people. Well,
Oh, yeah.
from what I understand, they're trying to discover immortality. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yep. Senescence, right? They want to attack senescence, destroy senescence, so we don't have senescent cells in our body. Basically, they want our bodies to work like zombies. They want all cells to basically be able to regenerate.
See, but that doesn't work because if you have cells that are constantly regenerating and will never die, that's called cancer.
Yeah, yeah. But what if you could utilize cancer to a point where you would never suffer lung disease? Your lungs
Like
would always be
Deadpool.
healthy. If you could genetically modify cancer cells so they actually produced, instead of scar tissue and tumors, actually produce new alveoli in your lungs or actually produce new synapses in your brain, then that would be good. And so that's where the gene therapy comes in.
Like
Because
Deadpool.
all the cancer in your body, it's not foreign, right? It's all built out of your material,
Yeah.
your genetics. The
The
interstitium scientists found is under our skin and between our organs. Understanding it may eventually help treat disease. Interstitium. So it's between the epidermis and the dermis, or below the dermis, but between our organs. It's a layer of fluid pockets that the lymph drains through. Oh, okay. Yeah, I always wondered what the lymph nodes were for. But
Yeah, no, they're just for getting cancer.
yeah, that's it, right? Because they always seem to be the ones that get it. Yeah. Yeah, they say,
Some
oh,
lymph
you got
nodes
breast
do
cancer,
both.
and it spread to your lymph nodes, which go everywhere in your body. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Uh, yeah, so this has been kind of depressing.
No. Future's bright. We're going to live
And
forever, Irving. Actually, you have a good chance. If you can make this YouTube thing work, start making real money on it, you have a chance of living indefinitely if you want to. I'm too old. It's never going to happen for me. My nephews, if they have the wherewithal and they can make the money, they're probably going to be able to receive life extension treatments as long as they can afford to pay them.
well, hold on. Kurzweil's much older than you, and
Yeah.
he thinks he's going to see it.
Is he the doctor who was on Rogan who looks like he's like 60, but he looks like he's like 35?
Oh,
Or am I thinking of somebody else?
he's a. This is a futurist.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
He's been, like predicting technologies and trying to push certain ideas, and yeah, immortality is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see a lot of people who are critical of guys like Elon Musk and other people for being transhumanists. I've never really had a problem with the idea of transhumanism. I think, our technology exists to serve us, or we produce, we produce technology to serve us and make our lives easier and better. Why not longer lived? The only concern I have is if everybody becomes so ubiquitous and so cheap that they can afford it, they might just eventually make people immortal slaves, right? You'll never
Yeah.
stop working, and you'll always be living in a pod, and you'll always be eating bugs because they can get work out of you.
Oh no, wait, hold on. If I was a evil elite, I have a better plan. I make myself and my friends immortal,
Yeah.
and then I Logan's run everybody else.
There
But
you
before
go.
they can, like catch on to what's
Yeah,
happening,
yeah, yeah.
right? We get the best years out of them, let them screw and reproduce, and then just keep culling them.
Yep, yep. That's the other thing about the idea of for a long time, because my particular religious beliefs. I don't believe in an afterlife, and I kind of like life, and I kind of like it to keep going as long as it can.
Hmm.
And my thought was, when I die, provided I'm still relatively healthy and my brain and hasn't degenerated to the point of um, it's like mush, like Alzheimer's or whatever, right? Um, I want my head or my whole body, probably my head, to be preserved cryogenically so that I could have ultimately one day be brought back. To me, I look at it as like an alternate funeral arrangement. It's essentially what it is in my thought. But if it's the odd chance that they could bring me back to life 50, 60, 100 years in the future, why wouldn't I take that chance? And then my dark side thought of that, though, is what if they bring me back and the future is so bleak that basically I come back and because of the way economics has turned out, I'm now a slave for all those years they kept me cryogenically frozen. I'm a
Hmm.
slave to some giant corporation or some alien race who basically took everybody who was cryogenically frozen, thawed them out, and turned them into a slave race. That's my concern. But
I have a really weird, probably just as scary in its own weird way. What if you put your head in cryogenics,
yeah.
but you die and you find out there is a heaven and you're in it, and then
Oh
a
yeah,
couple
yeah. And
hundred
then they
years
bring me
later,
back.
right? But they've cured death, so you can't even like kill yourself. You're not going to grow old, and you're never going to die of anything, even being murdered. It's just not possible anymore.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now you're
yeah.
trapped.
Yeah, that'd be a hell, right? I had a real neat story idea. I know we're getting way off topic here, but this is casual AF, so it's kind
Yeah.
of a meandering story anyway. So I had an idea about a guy who's executed because he's a murderer, like he's a vicious murderer. And I'm trying to decide how bad of a murderer he is. Is he a serial killer? He's a mass murderer, whatever. I'm just my thought is this character, okay? He murders somebody. He goes through prison. He's on death row. He's bitter and angry, full of rage and whatnot. But eventually, he comes to terms with what he's done, and he becomes very repentant. And at his execution, he 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 just pours his heart out, saying how terrible he is and how awful he feels, and he doesn't seek forgiveness, and all he hopes is that the people who he's affected can find peace with him dying, kind of thing. And then he dies. They execute him, and he goes to the afterlife. So my thought was the title of the story was going to be 90 Days in Purgatory, 30 Days in Hell. And then the next book was going to be 30 Days in Heaven, 365 Days on Earth. So the story would be that he goes to purgatory, and he's kept there for 90 days while he's watching all these other souls. They're there for a day or two, or a week, and then they move on, right? They move on to the other portions of the afterlife. But he's stuck there for 90 days, which is, in the system that is the afterlife, is considered as a considerably long time. Now, anybody, thinking about it, well, he's a murderer, he killed people, right? Would think, well, he'd go to hell, like immediately, kind of thing, right? But eventually hell takes him. And then they do their thing, they torture him for 30 days. And the whole time, he doesn't weep, he doesn't beg, for it to stop. He doesn't, scream in agony. He's completely at peace with the idea that he totally deserves this. And he doesn't squawk. And it really sets his tormentors off. They're kind of like, this is kind of weird. We don't know what to do here, because we expect a certain response when we're torturing people in this segment of the afterlife, and we're not getting it from this guy, and we don't know why. And the reason is he was legitimately penitent after he came to terms with what he had done. And he legitimately felt guilty, and legitimately didn't make excuses, and legitimately wanted to be tortured for it. So he's not masochistic about it. He still feels the pain. He still feels the agony of it all. But he's come to accept that this is the fate that he deserves for what he's done. And so after the 30 days in hell, eventually an angel comes down and says, to sort of like, they have this sort of like, a meeting between some devils and angels, and they're like, yeah, this guy's a conundrum. We don't understand. And we can't house him here because it goes against everything. So why don't you guys take him? So heaven takes him, and he feels completely out of sorts in heaven. He's like, I don't belong here. What am I doing here? He spends 30 days in heaven, and then eventually one of the bureaucrats in heaven goes, okay, we've got a plan, because you don't belong anywhere really. And purgatory, we could put you there, but we think it's an entirely, complete waste of your potential. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you back down to earth. And your mission will be to stop murderers before they become murderers. And they basically put this on him. He's like not a fallen angel, but he's put back on earth. He's immortal. He can't be killed. But he also can't act in a way that would cause harm. He can't give in to his wrath again. He's kind of cut off from it. And if he starts to feel any bit of wrath again, he goes straight back to hell. This is like a test for them and test for him. And they're kind of thinking, maybe we can get some good work out of him, kind of thing, right? So his whole mission is he spends a year on earth trying to stop murderers before they become murderers. And he can only do it by convincing them with his words. What do you think of that idea for a story?
Well, here, let's ask C-Mac. I'm too high for this story. This is nightmare fuel. Sounds like a better show than whatever is on TV. Yes.
Oh, there you go. It could be good. Video watching could be good viewing for sure.
3 seasons: start, middle, finish, and then cut it. Don't do this.
Yes, yeah. I am a big fan of British television series that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and they're finite. There's no need to come back every year with another season. Yeah.
Yeah, like fucking Supernatural. 15 goddamn seasons.
Oh,
it was done at 5.
Yeah, but I gotta hand it to them. They managed to milk that thing and make it a good series. Like even in the end, I know it had some dog seasons, but for the most part, it was entertaining the whole way along. This is something I made with my cricket for Melina. It's her birthday today.
Well, that's right. Happy birthday, Mrs. Bragg.
Yeah. I'm not 100% pleased with how it turned out, but
it's great.
Thanks. It's
That-
amazing
no-
with this. It's amazing with
Nothing's
this.
going to possess that drink.
And on the back, I got to print them off still and put them down. But I found online some black and white, like line drawings of Sam, Dean, and Cass, but they're like chibi kind of like cartoon characters.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was gonna cut them out and put them on the back, and that way it'd be something special for her. I don't know.
Nice. Ah,
Yeah, so C-Mac has it start the story at the middle, so like where he's on Earth or where he's in hell, and they're deciding they can't keep him. Or yeah,
and then explain the history as it goes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
history of the afterlife and how the universe outside of the mortal realm works. Yeah, I like that idea, and I don't want to be all foofy. I kind of want it to be kind of like do you ever see the movie Defending Your Life with Meryl Streep, and I want to say his name is Charles Grodin?
No, I don't think so.
You should watch it. It's really good. It's about a guy who dies, and he goes to this place called Judgment City, and it's all very it looks like a resort. It kind of looks like Disney World Epcot kind of thing, right? So it's all restaurants and stuff, and everybody has a hotel they stay in. And depending on how good a life you lived, you go to a different kind of hotel. You're staying at a different hotel. It's better quality if you lived a really, really good life. And the whole thing is in Judgment City, you have to state your case for why you should move on to become a citizen of the universe, or whether or not you should be going back to Earth to try again. And so Charles Grodin is this guy who he gets there, and he's staying at a moderately nice, kind of like a Holiday Inn type of place, where there's like mints on the pillow and stuff like that. And then he meets this girl, Meryl Streep, who's staying at this fancy, fancy hotel, and she gets little like chocolate doves on her pillow when she goes into her room at night, and it's really kind of cool. So basically, they do it like a legal type of thing. So depending on how many days you're looking at is indicative of how good a life you led. So Charles Grodin's character is looking at 9 days, which means they're going to take 9 days from his life and examine them in detail and find out if he's overcome the trials and tribulations existent in those 9 days, and if he's become a better person by the end of his life. Meryl Streep, on the other hand, is looking at 4 days. So she's led a really good life. She's had a really positive life. But the whole thing is, it's a love story about how, while he's kind of broken and weak and made poor decision after poor decision throughout his life, meeting her in Judgment City has made him like a better person. It's really, really good. And what's his name? Rip Torn is in it. He plays Charles Grodin's lawyer. It's a good movie. I highly suggest, if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching.
So there's also a TV show, a Netflix show called The Good Place.
Yeah. I love The Good Place. That was a great show.
Yeah, fantastic. But yeah, no, I'll defending your life.
Yeah, it's called Defending Your Life. Yeah.
I will look into that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, my idea for the afterlife it would be very sort of like bureaucratic office. It'd be very sort of mundane, banal, right? Heaven's not going to be this, floating clouds and stuff. It is going to be pleasant, and that's why this character feels so out of sorts there, because he knows he doesn't deserve to feel pleasant. But it's it's kind of mundane. There's no conflict. Everything is done for the joy of doing it, and everybody sort of gets along just naturally. Nobody feels any animosity towards anybody, except when this guy gets there, he starts to feel very out of sorts, and he just doesn't feel comfortable in the place. He doesn't lash out or anything because he's kind of turned his back on wrath, but yeah, he eventually goes to somebody and says, "Look, I shouldn't be here. What am I doing here?" And they're like, "Okay, we got an idea for you. Here's what we propose," and then they send him back down to Earth to stop murderers before they become murderers.
Yeah, I like it. I'd watch that show.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna write. I'll probably make it like a short story or a series of short stories first.
Script, baby. Can you carry this for a couple minutes?
Yeah. Go take a shit.
First of all, lower your voice.
Okay, sorry. Am I talking too loud? Sorry, folks, if I'm talking too loud.
No, no, that's the joke.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, go take a shit. First of all, lower your voice.
Okay. Let's see. So, and then explain the history. Yeah, I think the history will be sort of divulged in the story through observation of how things work, right? Like, I don't want to have a big, what's the word? A big sort of monologue about here's how heaven was formed and here's what goes on in heaven and blah 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 blah. I think I want it to be sort of revealed through his observations and interactions of what heaven is like, how it works, and I mean maybe even the people who live there, work there, and are part of this system don't even know, right? Because I mean we don't really know all about our history. Our understanding of the universe is confined to the 80 to 100 years that we're alive. Everything prior to that is based on what we've learned from other sources, right? So nobody has a clear idea of why the universe works the way it does. They just know their role in it. Anyway, and then as it goes on, when he is on Earth, explain the history when he's on Earth. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how. I mean, when I write, I really rely a lot on dialogue. I like dialogue. I like reading back and forth between characters. So I don't do a lot of like description. If I describe something, it's going to be the actions that people take to get them into a situation where they're going to interact with other people. It won't be a lot of like, and the Chesterfield was a smoky gray. Just doesn't interest me. I'd rather people draw the scene with their own brain TV. You know what I mean? I'll explain. I'll describe the setting in the vaguest or in the basest possible detail so people get an idea. So, so if I'm describing a room, I'll give an idea of what that room might have been utilized for. It looked like, I use a lot of similes, it looked like a doctor's office from the 1970s. Then bang, you can draw that in your head, right? But yeah. Yeah, the idea. I'm just trying to think. So who would he interact with? Like maybe he come across a kid who has killed his first animal and tortured it, and is now like kind of like Dexter but not Dexter, and is just about to commit his first real murder, and because of the power of the afterlife, power of heaven or whatever, this guy's able to basically pop in right at the moment where this guy's going to make the decision and convince him not to. And it's not just a matter of, hey, don't do it. Like he's got to legit convince him not to. And avoid being, stabbed or killed or, being, getting involved in a physical conflict. LOL mini Dexters, yeah.
And I'm back.
Gangsters. Yeah, crackheads, gangsters, domestic abusers who, hit just too hard that one time kind of thing. Yeah. Poisoners, women who poison their kids because of Munchausen. What was it? What do you call it? Munchausen by proxy syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where'd you go, Irving?
Just went to get a drink.
Oh, okay.
Way off topic.
Yeah.
YouTube will destroy us if we talk about South American popularity contests, even if those popularity contests involved 5.5 million spoiled ballots in a race decided by 2 million votes.
So, I'm kind of in the dark about what happened in the Brazilian election. I understand it was contested, but ultimately, the current president or prime minister, I think president, right? The current president conceded at the end of the day. Did he
See,
not?
I heard that, and then I heard he didn't. That's a lie.
Oh, okay. All right. So my mistake.
And like 5 million people are marching to.
Yeah, they call shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why democracy is bullshit. Nobody has faith in it anymore. Nobody believes in it, and nobody cared. What it's probably always been bullshit, But nobody cared when government didn't involve themselves in every little, minute portion of people's lives, and rob from them, to the point of near poverty all the time. Now people give a shit because they see the capacity for government's evil and what government can do to people simply by fiat, simply through, oh, there's an emergency, everybody do what you're told or there'll be problems. People are finally going, getting really upset when, their guy doesn't win. But the fact of the matter is the system's always been bullshit, and nobody cared that it was bullshit. That's why the voter turnout was so abysmally low for the longest time in most countries. Nobody cared it was bullshit because government was just kind of this thing that was in the background and it was part of their lives, but it never really had much of an impact on them. 2 years of it, now people are realizing how dangerous government can be, and now you're getting the pushback from the nationalists against the globalists, and this new dude is clearly a globalist. He's a WEF flunky, just like our Justin Trudeau. Yeah, so
I don't know, 5.5 million spoiled ballots though.
Yeah, that's pretty big, right? How many people live in the country of Brazil? Is it like?
It's a lot.
Yeah, but it's not like the U.S. 300 million. It's like it's more than Canada, I believe, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But still, that's a lot. That's 5 million ballots is a lot. If 5 million ballots were spoiled in a Canadian election, especially when we never get our full population voting, we'd be like, okay, there's clearly fucking shenanigans going on here.
214 million.
Okay, so they do have a sizable population. But still, 5 million, that's a lot to be spoiled. And what did you say, 2 million ballots were found at the last minute kind of thing? Or?
Oh, no. Decided by 2 million votes.
Oh, okay, so the ballot, the election, this, what's his name, Lucas or something like that? Won by 2 million votes.
Yeah.
But there were 5 million spoiled ballots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, polling precincts in swing states in the United States closing at 11 p.m., like almost all simultaneously, and stopping the counting. And with Donald Trump ahead, and then by morning, all of a sudden Biden's ahead. That doesn't seem suspicious at all.
No, that's not weird.
Yeah. Throwing a couple of victims turned into killers just for good measure, he says. Yeah, that might be interesting. Like Hemingway, he liked dialogue. Yeah. Well, you can just do so much with dialogue, right? You can tell. Sorry, while you were away, I was talking about how I like to write. And the thing about dialogue is you can define so much about a character simply in how they speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's why when I was saying when I write, I like to have interactions more than description. I like to have character dialogue back and forth more than description. So I kind of write from a cinematic point of view. Like I'm writing it like it's a scene in a movie,
right?
A scene in a television show. If it was just somebody walking around looking at a room for 20 minutes of a an hour-long movie or 2-hour-long movie, you'd be like, that's fucking boring. He has to interact with people. There has to be some back and forth, some conflict.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading a book, like I love H.P. Lovecraft because of the ideas he wrote out, but when I'm reading a book and he's describing, fucking gambrel roofs and fucking gargoyles and architecture of New England, I'm like, okay, get on with it, man. Show me the fucking aliens with the tentacles and shit.
He wants you to see it. He wants you to be there.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, I was saying that I can use shorthand. I can, but simply by using similes, you can use shorthand in your descriptions of a place or a setting, simply by saying it looked like a doctor's office in a 1970s sitcom, or it reminded him of the emergency room on the TV show of St. Elsewhere. Something like that, right? Like, I mean, I'm just using those as examples. But if you use similes, people can draw the picture in their head like instantaneously because they're piecing it from their own experience.
Yeah, they'll make their own.
We need a dramatic reading of Craig's writings now. I haven't written in ages, but when I do write, I get inspired and I'll write 30 pages all in one go, and then I'll just put it away.
Nice.
It's kind of great. Hey, Pox. Thanks for popping in, buddy.
What? So what's next?
I don't know. It's your show, buddy.
I don't prep.
You're right. You don't. That's okay.
I had like 5 images to show. I showed them.
I was just curious what you think about what's her name, Danielle Smith out there in Alberta.
From what I've seen,
Yeah,
yeah, she's great.
she reminds me of like a Canadian Georgia Maloney.
Yeah, but I just been fooled before, right?
Yeah, or a Canadian DeSantis.
Yeah, I mean, I want it to be that way.
Yeah, she's saying the right things, and you know what? It's kind of heartening to find that there are more. You're seeing more conservative leaders who or personalities in the politics. So is there a lot of echo, Pox? I apologize.
He's just
Um,
calling me Jewish.
Oh.
No, he can't. I can still hear the echo, but
Oh, okay. I'm wondering if it's maybe I'm talking too loud, like you were
no,
saying.
it's from me.
Oh, okay.
Your mic is picking up your speaker when I talk.
I should move it then. Let's see if I can move it. I'm thinking that maybe it's good. It's a good thing that you're finding people who would be more milk toast conservatives in politics are now sort of cottoning on to the idea of smaller government, less government, more libertarian ideas, more state or province rights as opposed to Ottawa rules all, and everybody has to sort of get in line. I'm kind of buoyed by that idea.
Mm.
That there's more of your what you would normally consider mainstream conservatives actually coming out of the woodwork and appearing to be more libertarian minded. It seems anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, my big fear is that they're just saying it to get votes and win and do nothing.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean that's the risk we take. That's why democracy is shit, right? I mean, you got to support somebody. You may as well support somebody who speaks to your interests, as opposed to somebody, you know, who you have no faith in whatsoever, right?
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, I've moved out to Alberta. If I could convince Melina to move out to Alberta, I'd go in a heartbeat. Home prices there are dirt cheap. Problem is that I have to find a job out there because you can't work from home. If I work for my company that I'm working for now, I have to be in Ontario. I can't leave Ontario. They won't keep me employed if I leave the province because they're Ontario based company, right? So not supporting whoever's willing to push the nuke button. Yeah.
Just nuke it all. I'm done. I'm tired. Like,
You think you think Putin's gonna not launch him?
I hope so.
I don't want a nuclear war. That would suck, man.
Oh. Not for me. I'll just get vaporized.
You probably would, because they probably would strike Toronto right quick.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, the good side, the benefit of there being a nuclear holocaust would be I could live out my post-apocalyptic dreams. Get myself a fucking duster and a gas mask and walking out there into the wilds of the Fallout Fallout covered world with my Ruger and my Browning rifle and trying to hunt irradiated rabbits, taking iodine capsules just so I can keep on living for another day. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of badass.
Yeah. I'm too tired for that shit. Just fucking nuke me, daddy.
Speaking of which, speaking of post-apocalypse, I probably mentioned it far too many times, but I'm going to Chesapeake in December to play at Ballahack Airsoft in another one of their post-apocalypse events.
Nice.
And I'm going as Canada Man.
Fuck yeah.
I'm changing up my costume a little bit, so it's a little bit more utilitarian. So instead of the rubber mask that I had on for the Halloween stream, I'm making a helmet out of EVA foam, putting protective lenses in the helmet, and I'm going to install a little fan behind the Maple Leaf logo that's going to be on my forehead, so that I don't fog up like crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a black gray Cryptek camouflage sort of like uniform, I guess you call it, or fatigues.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna make a EVA foam sort of breastplate, kind of like the one that was in my costume, but a little bit better. And yeah, I'm gonna make a sort of like an army latter day Captain America style Canada Man costume that's gonna serve my purposes, and I'm gonna go there as Canada Man.
Beautiful. You have to take video.
I'll take pictures at the very least. I may take video. I have it has to work. I'll probably take some video with my phone of myself, but video of me playing that becomes more complicated because then you have to rig your gun with a camera. You have to rig a camera on the gun that points at you, and you got to rig a camera to your forehead too. So it's we'll see. Invest in a GoPro. I have an old GoPro, but now I'll be honest. I'm looking at there's this company I want to say I think they're called DJI. They make a better camera than GoPro. They make a series of action cameras that are better than GoPro. They don't overheat like GoPros do all the time, and and they have just as good stabilization. And I think they're cheaper than GoPro too, quite frankly. So I'm like, why wouldn't I go with this DJI? I think they're called DJI. Anyway, I'm gonna look into it. I will look into it.
So any camera that says we're better than GoPro or we do what GoPro does, they have to turn one on and throw it out of a plane at 5,000 feet.
Well, here's the thing. Because I've been looking into it. I've been watching a bunch of people review these action cameras, and they're doing side by side tests with them, right? And they're just as robust and will survive, deeper than a lot of the current generation GoPros. Uh, they're more reliable and that they don't just overheat all the time. GoPros have a tendency to overheat like very fast, especially if you're doing shooting at like higher resolution. Um, but like all these tests are going like, yeah, you know what? Like, fact of the matter is, GoPro hasn't really boosted their technology very much in the last 5-10 years, and now this new company is DJI. They're not that new. They've been around for a few years. Every year they bring a new one out. They improve the technology. They improve the reliability. Whereas GoPro just changes, where the buttons are situated and the size of the screen and stuff like that. And they don't improve the internals. So yeah, I know GoPro is resilient to like impacts and stuff like that, and that's great. But in terms of like being reliable and capturing footage, they're not the best apparently. At least from what I'm hearing from these people who review these things. So
Yeah, hold on. We got a couple of comments. While you scavenge the wastes, I'll be a booze and bullet baron ruling with an iron dick.
yes, you will.
And yeah, C-Mac needs to set up a helmet cam. He's about to start a 3-year-old horse under saddle this winter.
Cool.
We need to hang out with this guy.
Yeah, really. Eh? Where is CMAC situated? Is he Canadian or is he?
No fucking clue.
CMAC,
Well,
whereabouts in
wait, yes,
Canada?
he's working with Chinese biotech and saddling horses. He's in Canada.
Probably in Alberta. Irving keeps misgendering me. Oh, CMAC is a she.
Gee,
That's right. Sorry, I know that too because
I
I
completely
was
forgot.
rewatching. I was rewatching one of our streams where CMAC was commenting, and yeah, it turns out that yeah, CMAC is a girl.
Kingston.
Apologize. You're in Kingston. Oh, I love Kingston. Great city.
We'll do a day trip.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll pop. That would be great because you and I haven't gotten together in real life in quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been a bit. It's been a
Yeah,
minute.
we should head up to Kingston. Maybe when I get back from Antigua.
You going to Antigua?
Yeah, going to Antigua in a few weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, going for a week with the wife and another couple. we've traveled with them before to like different Caribbean places. So it's kind of a tradition. Like we plan these trips. And they were supposed to be. The plan was that every other year, we were going to go. We were going to spend Christmas with these friends at a resort somewhere, and every other year, the off years, we'd be spending it with family. We thought that's completely reasonable because we don't have kids. We shouldn't be expected to, see family all the time every Christmas. So, and, whatever. It never turned out that way. So now it turns out we take trips every few years together with them, and we hang out, together quite a while, or quite a bit throughout the year. But every few years we take a trip. So last trip was St. Lucia. Trip before that was Bahamas, and this year it's Antigua. Yes, that's right. CMAC was schooling you on Canadian plumbing. I remember that.
I think
Yes,
she even sent me fucking
Irving was,
diagrams on Discord.
that's right. Irving was quite adamant, and I think his unwillingness to concede anything was based on the fact that he was 3 sheets to the wind when we started talking about plumbing. He
You
was
don't seal from the
adamant that
outside.
you don't need the fucking gasket. Or no, what was it? You don't need the putty.
You don't seal from the outside.
I don't know, man. The plumber came and fixed it because I couldn't do it myself. I tried to. I'm like, no, the piping here is way too complicated, and I do not want to get involved. So, yes, it should be fun. Shh, box. Oh yeah, how you doing, Maple Mama? Embarrass my boy again. It's not fair to pick on someone who's that drunk, lol.
No, it's totally fair. I literally open a window to the infinite internet. I'm asking for it. Okay.
Yeah, it's true enough. True enough.
My skirt's up and I'm bent over the dumpster. What do I expect? Oh dear. Okay. We didn't get shut down for talking about Brazil, so that's good.
Well, I would be. We're like such a small channel; nobody even pays attention to us.
Hopefully.
I like how you put my name in the channel or in the title of the video, Irving.
Yeah, I've been trying.
Casual AF 5 featuring Craig Bragg, like I'm somebody to be featured. Oh man.
Yeah, you are. You're Canada man. You're
No,
you're a
I'm not
national
Canada,
hero.
man. I'm not even affiliated with that weirdo. Yeah, I really enjoyed dressing up as Canada Man. I dressed up. I put the outfit on for Halloween night too, for the kids to come to the door. Do you get a lot of trick or treaters in your neck of the woods?
It depends. Like year by year.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's like we get 1 or 2 knocks.
How many did you get this year? Do you remember? Or were you working? Or
No, I was here. It was. I think we got about 7 or 8 knocks at the door, but a couple of them were fairly large groups of children, like
right.
5 and 6 kids at a time. So,
Well, let me tell you how it was here in my neck of the woods. We had a total of 3 children come to our door,
really,
and only one of them was a legit trick or treater. 2 of them were the neighbors across the road who were up in the window while their parents were downstairs entertaining guests. They're up in the window yelling across to us, "Hi!" because they saw us on the porch, right? I was sitting on the porch as Canada Man, and I waved back, "Hi, hi." And this went on for about 20 minutes, and then Melina called out, "Are you going to come trick-or-treating?" And like, "No, we don't trick-or-treat." So they don't celebrate. I think it might be religious in nature,
sure.
cultural in nature, but they don't celebrate Halloween. Anyway, at one point, like 10 minutes later, they snuck downstairs and they came across the road to visit us. And I said, well, here, even though you're not trick-or-treating, here's some candy because we got a ton of it. And if I don't give it away, I'm going to eat it. And I shouldn't be. So we gave them some candy. So they weren't dressed in costume. They were in their pajamas with like sneakers on and stuff. And then we got a little girl who came up dressed as like a tiger or a leopard or something. Like a full-on legit like fur costume kind of thing. and she walks up. She's probably 6, 7, and she says, "Thank you." And I'm like, "Well, wait, what do you say? Happy Halloween." "Yeah, but what do you say before that?" "I don't know." I said, "Trick or treat. You gotta say trick or treat." She's like, "Oh, trick or treat." I'm like, "There you go. Happy Halloween." And gave her a bunch of candy. But that's it. That's all we got all night.
Wow.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah. Like there's a handful of kids that live on the street here, right? Like it's a court, so to leave, they hit all the houses on the way. But also, I told you that neighbor down the street set up those like a 22 and 25-foot skeleton, and is
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
year it looks like it's going to get bigger and bigger. So
Yeah.
any kids that weren't already in the court,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to divert their. They're going to beeline straight for that house. They
Sure.
know that house is going to have mad candy, right? So, oh, six is here.
Hey, 6.
Sixty poo. And then, yeah, there's of course this.
Yes, birth rates are dropping in the West. Less children, less trick or treaters. Yeah, but Canada is importing 500. Was it 500,000?
Yeah, they're aiming for 500,000 by 2025.
No, I thought it was going to be 500,000 every year. Oh no, you're right. You're right. It's 500,000 in the next over the next 3 years. That's right.
Yeah, 411,000 next year. Yeah, the thing is, they're all Muslims.
Yeah, they're all coming from the Middle East, but they have kids.
Yeah, but they're all Muslims. Muslims
Yeah,
don't
but
trick or treat.
well, it depends, right? Most nominal Muslims are like they're like Jews. They're cultural Muslims, right? They go to mosque, but really, most of them are going to integrate into Western civilization. They're going to maintain some of their traditions, but occasionally they'll eat some pork, and they're going to drink. And the husband's not going to grow a beard. He might have some scruff, and his wife might wear a hijab, but she's not going to burqa it up.
I want adult trick or treating instead, then. We can give each other booze.
Yeah, and drugs. My mother-in-law was saying, "Did you hear that they're giving kids?" A little girl got sick because they gave the kid was trick or treating and they gave him some CBD candy, some like THC candy. And I smiled. I went, "Really?" And I'm like, "That's terrible," with a smile on my face. No, she got really sick. I'm like, I'm sure she was messed up. And then I was thinking, like, why would you waste that? Those things are like,
Yeah.
$5-10 a pop. Why would you waste that to give it to a little kid? They're not going to appreciate it. They're just going to get sick. About to head to bed, but I wanted to swing by and say hi to my boys. Thanks, Six. Thanks for popping
Yeah,
by.
thanks for popping by. Good night. Get to bed. There's a
There's a
family.
family on my block that gives out Jello shots to the adults out with their kids. That's cool. I mean, as long as they're walking around and they're not driving their kids around, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's clever. Uh,
I remember a buddy of mine, not my buddy anymore, but his younger sister was turning 19, and her birthday's Halloween, and so she had a party at her parents' house, and all of her friends and my friend and Melina and myself, we were invited to this party too, right? And so we made and brought Jello shots because it's a party, it's grown ups. We're gonna be drinking, right? Well, it turns out that my buddy's sister, who turned 19, all of her friends were under the age of 19. And so I walk out onto the patio with a tray of Jello shots. I said, "Who wants Jello shots?" I didn't think that they weren't 19 as well.
yeah.
It just didn't dawn on me, right? And so like a bunch of them took them, and then my friend's father says, "What are you doing, you twat? You can't give them booze. They're not 19." And meanwhile, they're sneaking booze in the back patio the whole time. They're all
Right, right.
trashed, right? So I'm thinking they're drinking. Like what are you talking about? Anyway, I felt like an asshole, but anyway, it is what it is.
Oh, it's that accent and calling you a twat. That's
Yeah,
real.
fuck, I love that term.
That stings,
I
man.
like calling people twat. I think it's a funny term.
Now,
What are you
twat's
doing,
better.
you twat? Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I'm not friends with that guy anymore, but it's too bad because I liked his parents. His parents were great. His father was cool. His mother was cool.
As long as they weren't calling you a twat, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, he was right. I was being a twat. I didn't. It didn't dawn on me, right? Anyway, here's what it is.
Ah,
Well, sir,
yeah,
it's getting close to that time. I'm afraid. I unfortunately need to call it a night. I'm
yeah.
taking Melina's parents to the airport tomorrow at 5 a.m., so I gotta get some sleep. Are you gonna continue on streaming?
No, I will be calling it right here. Just after this, Fox is telling C-Mac I still go full costume every year and chase small children with chainsaws.
Yeah, his costume was pretty cool last week on my channel. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
I'm,
homemade scary mask that you know belongs in any John Carpenter horror movie and would scare the shit out of you if you saw it. So,
oh yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, but final thoughts?
final thoughts on anything in particular?
Whatever.
Um, yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, my latest video is titled "F Justin Trudeau, F Doug Ford, F Public Sector Unions," in that order. Um,
It's
yeah,
really good too.
no, it's not that good. But anyway, um, yeah, I'm not surprised or depressed by anything I see on Twitter or in the Canadian political system at this point. I'm just, I don't know. I'm like numb to it at this point. So, but I still have the smallest inkling of hope for this country. So, and I'm trying to think of a Bloodhound Gang lyric. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got one. When we met, I was sure out to lunch, but now my empty cup tastes as sweet as the punch. Sweet as the punch.
And on that note, we're gonna go. So, good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Don't send money to my subscribe star because the Canadian government will freeze your bank account. All right. Have a good night.
Wait, Pox Toxic. It's one part the Fuhrer, one part the Pope. The inevitable return of the Great White Dope. But I appreciate you doing a callback to the on an awesome Bloodhound Gang, one of my favorite bands.
Showing up for the last second to say good night. Good night. Good night, everyone.
M. Mariano.
Good night.